Central Nervous System, CNS, Brain plus Spinal Cord. Forebrain. Telencephalon. Cortex, Basal Ganglia. Diencephalon. Thalamus, Hypothalamus. Midbrain. Tectum, Tegmentum. Hindbrain. Cerebellum, Pons, Medulla. Cerebral hemispheres. Brainstem. Cerebral cortex surface is folded to increase area. Central sulcus. Postcentral gyrus. Gray matter. White matter. Surface is folded to increase area. Sulcus, PL. Sulci, equals groove. Gyrus, PL. Gyri, equals bulge between sulci. Gray matter equals cell bodies. White matter equals axons. Cerebral hemispheres. Corpus callosum. Left and right hemispheres are connected by white matter tracts called commissures. These allow communication between lateralized brain areas. Largest commissure is the corpus callosum. In split brain patients, the corpus callosum is transected, leading to neuropsychological deficits. Lobes of the cerebral cortex. Parietal lobe. Body sense. Multimodal integration. Frontal lobe. Motor. Executive. Functions. Occipital lobe. Visual. Temporal lobe. Memory. Auditory. Primary and association cortex. Primary cortical areas are most directly linked to the sensorio-motor systems in the body. These areas project to association cortex, allowing integration of information. Association cortex is where sophisticated, higher-level processing takes place, for example, planning of a sequence of movements, motor association cortex, frontal lobe. Perceiving a visual object, visual association cortex, temporal lobe. Making decisions, multimodal association cortex, frontal lobe. Primary cortical areas. Primary somatosensory area. Primary motor area. Medial surface of right hemisphere. Central sulcus. Primary visual area. Lateral fissure, Sylvian fissure. Lateral surface of left hemisphere. Primary auditory area. Functional distribution of cortex. 1. Primary cortex, direct projection areas. 3. Sensory, visual, auditory, somatosensory. 1. Motor. 2. Secondary cortex, unimodal. 3. Tertiary cortex, association, polymodal. Subcortical structures. In the forebrain, these are: in the telencephalon, the basal ganglia and the limbic system. In the diencephalon, the thalamus and hypothalamus. Basal ganglia. Thalamus. Hypothalamus, basal ganglia important in motor control and cognition. Damage to the basal ganglia occurs in Parkinson's disease and Huntington's disease. 5 components. 1. Caudate nucleus. 2. Putamen. 3. Globus pallidus. 4. Subthalamic nucleus. 5. Substantia nigra. Limbic system functions include emotion and memory. Cingulate gyrus. Hippocampus. Amygdala. Functions include emotion and memory. Limbic system includes cortical and subcortical structures. Cingulate gyrus, cognitive control. Hippocampus, fornix and mammillary bodies, episodic memory. Amygdala, emotion, diencephalon thalamus, hypothalamus. Closely connected with cerebral cortex and its functions. Thalamic nuclei have distinct functions, for example lateral geniculate nucleus in vision. Hypothalamus controls autonomic nervous system and endocrine system, hormones. Last sensory way station on the way to the cortex. Thalamic nuclei. 1. Ventral posterior nuclei, somatosensory. 2. Lateral geniculate, visual. 3. Medial geniculate, auditory. Pulvinar connects with parietal lobe and is a major part of an attentional control system. Midbrain. Tegmentum. Tectum. Midbrain and hindbrain structures perform relatively primitive functions, for example reflexes. Tectum comprises superior colliculi, fish's visual system. Inferior colliculi, fish's auditory system. Tegmentum includes nuclei involved with arousal, reticular formation, species-specific behavior, periaqueductal gray, motor control, red nucleus, substantia nigra, hindbrain cerebellum pons, medulla oblongata. Important for precise movement, control and learning. Also involved in cognition. Pons. Nucleus relays info from cortex to cerebellum. Contains reticular formation, arousal. Medulla oblongata. Necessary for vital functions, breathing, heartbeat. Pons. Cerebellum. Medulla. Brainstem many neurotransmitter systems. Reticular Activating System. Sleep and wakefulness control. Controls respiration and other bodily functions. Midbrain. Pons. Medulla. Brainstem components. Midbrain. Superior colliculus, eye movements and visual reflex functions. Inferior colliculus, auditory reflex functions. Pons and medulla. Ascending sensory and descending motor pathways. Bulge of pons caused by pathways to the cerebellum. Cerebellum inputs from sensory and motor centers and vestibular system. Outputs to spinal cord and thalamus, then cortex. Functions. Maintenance of posture and fine motor control, timing. Also involved in higher functions including language,